Alrighty, everyone, welcome back to another GSD Power Hour. A couple minutes late there, apologies, that's my fault, but we got a fun-filled session for you today. Good to see everybody again. Lots of familiar names and faces, and yeah, a packed house once again. Lots of people. I see lots of people that I'll be going to China with in about 30 days, less than 30 days now, I think. So that is awesome. Good to see all you guys here. Let's see how many days we have left, guys. We got 30 days left until the China trip, 30 days exactly almost. Like on this webinar, guys, when this webinar ends, we will be at the 30-day mark from the starting point of the 2018 Sourcing Summit. So guys, last chance pretty much if you want in on this. We have to give those final numbers to the hotel. We actually do have 1 or 2 spots left, so if you do want to go still, let me know quickly. You guys know all about Sourcing Summit, so I'm not going to spend much time on it. Going to be an awesome event, even more awesome than last time. I just went when I was in Vegas. I talked to someone out there. We're combining our 2 parties and doing like a 400-person Amazon seller meetup in Guangzhou during the Canton Fair. So again, like Sourcing Summit just keeps on getting better and better. This party is going to be actually sponsored by Shopify. So I mean, it's getting more awesome every single day. I actually need to update the Sourcing Summit website pretty soon just to put more of the stuff in there because the Sourcing Summit website actually doesn't have half of the concrete things that we're going to be doing because we've added a lot this time through. And it's going to be an awesome trip. So for those of you that want to do it, and guys, people are asking, a lot of people are saying, hey, I can't do April, going to do it in October. I don't think we're doing an October trip. This previously was a twice-a-year trip. But it's just too much Canton Fair for us. We don't make much money on this trip. We're only doing this trip because we're going and we make money on the Canton Fair, right? We need to go for our companies to the Canton Fair. I don't think we need to go twice a year anymore. I don't think either of our companies, me or Dr. Ben and Dr. Peter, I don't think either of our companies are going to need to go in October. So I don't think there's going to be an October trip. I think it's going to be just April this time around. So if you want to go, let me know quickly because it's going to be your last chance before 2019. Coupon code for this, super early bird, or just get in touch with us and let us know, and we'll talk it through, let you know everything that you need to do. So today's session, guys, I just want to speed through the Sourcing Summit stuff because I know you guys hear about this every week. February 6-figure showdown winner on the call here with us today. It's Kyle Blase. I actually should have asked him how to pronounce his name. I don't know if it's Blase. We're going to find out shortly when we bring him on. But and hopefully his name, my PowerPoint put a little accent mark above his name here, or above the E. So hopefully that's correct. But Kyle actually joined or did his showdown throwdown in May of 2017. And I put him in a few times because I just thought he'd be a great person to bring in. I think we're all going to learn a ton from him and hearing about his journey in this business. So let me go through Kyle's post here. And then we're going to introduce Kyle, bring him in, and hear his story and start asking him questions. So here's his post from May 2017. He said, hey, folks, got a quick bit of inspiration for those just getting started. Came really close of my goal of hitting 100K a month. As we all know, 100K a month. 1.2 million a year. We shouldn't have to bring up a calculator for that. Stocked out on a couple products or I would have blown past it. Really don't like bragging. And, of course, we're bringing him in today because it's going to be so insightful. So don't feel like you're bragging, Kyle. When I was starting, I was really motivated to see what others were doing. Started about a year ago. Launched his first product in June 2016. So anytime we find someone that has gone from 0 to over $1 million a year within 1 year of the business starting, that is someone we definitely want to bring in and see how they're doing it. Looks like it was actually about 11 months. Pretty sure I made more mistakes than just about anyone else I know, which makes him a great candidate to teach us a ton of stuff here today. Made a big mistake on going with a group trip with GDW. I believe that was to Yiwu. We'll have to ask him about that. Kyle, you came to the Sourcing Summit. I've had plenty of failed products, hijackers, accidentally infringed trademarks. We'll have to ask him about all these different things. Put a lot of time and effort into this business, not absurd amounts. Really value his free time. Has a lot of other passions in life. Current goal is to delegate and automate. And this was a while back, so we'll have to see how he actually did here. Looks like he spent the summer in Southeast Asia, so it should be a really good session here today, guys. Here's his sales stats here, so good to see. So without any further ado, guys, I'm going to bring in Kyle Blase. And the first thing I would like Kyle to do is let me know how to pronounce your name properly. But yeah, Kyle, feel free. I think you're muted still, so just if you unmute.
Oh, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, so
Yeah.
let us know, man. Welcome.
It's Blaze, Kyle Blaze.
Blaze. I was way
No
off.
worries.
Way off.
I hate Microsoft for the fact that they put the asterisk over my, not the asterisk, whatever it is, over the E,
Yeah.
because it's not
Have
spelled
you
like that.
experienced
But
that before?
oh, it's every time you do it in any Microsoft product, it does that.
Yeah, it just automatically did it. So,
Yep.
Kyle Blaze, I was way off with that name pronunciation. I'm usually
I
close
get
to
it a
that.
lot. It's okay.
But welcome, buddy. Good to have you. And yeah, thanks for being here with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So I guess let's just get into the story. Start at the beginning. So you got into this in June 2016. You said. So when you say got into this and got started with this, I guess let us know some of your backstory. What attracted you to this business model and everything, and then yeah, take us through like June 2016 and everything.
Yeah, definitely. So I definitely never, I have a different story than a lot of people because I didn't come from a 9 to 5 job. I never ever wanted to have a 9 to 5 job and knew that that wasn't going to happen. I went to college. I got a very useless degree. I have two very useless degrees, parks, recreation, and tourism, and environmental studies. Okay, they're absolute. That's a horrible thing to have a degree in.
The Parks and Rec one that show really didn't help you out, huh?
Yeah, maybe it did. I don't know because people actually realize that's a thing. I don't know. I just wanted to be a climbing guide, so there's no reason I needed to go to college. But I skied a lot and had
Climbing
a lot of
guide like
fun.
mountain climbing, I'm guessing. Or?
Yeah, mountain climbing. So I actually followed that track after college for a while. I lived in my van for a while, traveling around climbing because that's what I wanted to do. I worked as a climbing guide and instructor, so I basically took people rock climbing and alpine climbing. I taught courses, stuff like that. Realized pretty quickly that that's a pretty hard job and it's pretty brutal, and you don't make hardly any money. So
The rock climbing,
realized.
you're talking. I'm guessing you're talking like rock climbing up like mountain, actual cliff faces, not like hiking.
Yeah, yeah. So actual
Okay.
like technical rock climbing with ropes and stuff.
Yeah, something I
So
have obviously have no idea what I'm talking about with. So
not a whole lot of that in Florida.
no, not at all.
So I live in Utah. I actually grew up in Ohio. I grew up snowboarding, and that's why I moved out here. Is to snowboard and kind of fell into climbing and fell into that life.
So
And I
what
was
year
kind of
is all this when you graduated and got into this?
I mean, I climbed and snowboarded throughout college. I never really had any, even in college, I never had any real goals of making a lot of money. I kind of just wanted to be a dirtbag the rest of my life and climb and snowboard and surf as much as I could because there's a lot of people in the outdoor community that do that, and it's kind of glorified in that community of you don't really need money and you just like live in your car and climb all the time. And that's fine for some people, but I realized I did not want to do that and be broke the rest of my life. So I moved out to Utah in about 2010 to go to school. I'm 26 right now, so yeah, been out here for about 8 years.
So when did you get sick of that profession or that career?
Yeah, it was about a year before I started into the e-commerce stuff. I realized, hey, I actually want to make some money, but I want to do it on my own terms. I started looking around, trying to figure out ways to make money on my own, do my own thing. So I did a lot of different part-time jobs while I was doing that. I was a yoga teacher. I was like climbing instructor, like we talked about. And then so I kind of dove into the online world, looking for ways to make money. I tried a few different things. I tried to build out a online climbing course, and I actually built out a really cool one. And then I never launched it because I realized I didn't want to do that. So I tried a few different things like that, and yeah, then kind of realized that I just wanted to go where the money was. So I saw some people doing e-commerce, and then yeah, I kind of like around that time, watched your webinar and kind of got started into that world. So when I first started, I definitely hustled on the retail arbitrage, and there's a couple of great places in Salt Lake that do liquidations. So my first month doing arbitrage, I think I probably made like 5,000 or 6,000 profit. So I was kind of blown away.
Yeah, you were immediately. And this was in 2015, you said, which I'm sure we have a few people in here that joined in 2015. For arbitrage, 2014 to really like 2013 to 2015 was just the golden era of retail arbitrage where, like Kyle said, you pretty much went out and tried it and you were immediately making money. So that got you hooked on it, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely. And like it was so easy for me too, because we have a few stores in Salt Lake. We have one store. If you live in Salt Lake, I don't know if it's still worth going, because like you said, arbitrage isn't as profitable as it used to be. But there's a store called the MPS store. They get all these like lost shipments and stuff from, just all sorts of things. They have these massive warehouses, and they do bidding and all that stuff, as well as you can just go in there and buy stuff. And so I was going in there buying textbooks for 50 cents that were selling for like $60, $70. And I was buying, all these random products that like maybe had a little bit of damaged packaging or something like that. And yeah, just selling them for a lot more than I paid for them. So that definitely got me hooked. And then when I found I did realize that I didn't want to do that long term, because it's a lot of work to go to the store all the time and to go to liquidations and kind of shop around, and I hate shopping to begin with. So yeah, seeing that people were doing their own products and kind of private labeling stuff, as well as like developing their own products, definitely made a lot more sense to me than trying to hustle and just go and flip stuff.
Yeah. So you had a lot of success really quickly in this. I'll bring up the post again. Yeah, you had a lot of success really quickly in this. So around what time, I guess, how long did you do retail arbitrage for, and around what time did you decide that you were going to start to get into private label?
So I didn't start retail arbitrage until the beginning of 2016. So I had tried some of these other, like I around that time there were a lot of people preaching, build out a course kind of thing and sell information products. So I was kind of looking to do that in 2015, and then 2016 was when I started e-commerce and arbitrage. So I did arbitrage for a few months, and then I used that money to launch my own product. In June of 2016 was when I launched my first product, and the first couple products I had did really well. I actually still sell a couple of them. One of them I don't sell anymore because it was a baby product, and I just didn't want to deal with that. I thought maybe it could have been a choking hazard, and I didn't want to have to deal with that. And so I dropped a couple of products that were doing well. But yeah, I still have a few products that I launched in June of 2016 that are doing great. And then things kind of went downhill after that, but we could talk about that in a little bit, or now. I don't
know. Yeah. So I guess take us through the first few products then. And you definitely made the right move in hindsight, getting out of arbitrage, because you did it like perfect timing too. As it started to get harder, and as they started doing brand gating, and it sounds like you got out of it at the perfect time. So you made a good amount of money at arbitrage. A lot of people are going to have the question on here. What was your product research methodology? How did you go about finding products? Did you select something, in the outdoor fitness and activities niche because you had so much experience and passion there? Or did you go straight for, data-driven approach? Or how did you find those first few products that worked for you?
Yeah, I definitely went straight for the data-driven approach. Like I said, I launched something in the baby category that did really well, but then I was a little bit worried about it as a baby product, so I stopped selling it. Yeah, I definitely just looked at the data, and I put a lot of time into product research, and I think that's a big thing that people don't understand when they're starting. Is I see so many people just wanting to sell the same things as everyone else and really not understanding how to properly select a product, because there's so many good products out there, but everyone chooses the same crappy products. and then wonders why they're not making any money. I mean, if you can put more time into anything else, it, the rest of the stuff is so easy compared to picking a good product. If you can have a good, if you pick a good product, selling it's really easy. But people don't spend enough time actually learning how to select that good product. So I definitely had a couple of failed products in there, but I only had a little bit of inventory, so I didn't really lose money on it. But I spent a lot of time like just really learning the ins and outs of what's selling and how much inventory and how much investment I would need to make in order to compete with the top sellers. And at that time, it was still a lot easier to get reviews because we could do the incentivized reviews. So right off the bat, you could have 50 to 100 reviews and it wasn't that hard. So it was a really good time to launch products because of that. So, and that was right around the time that they were switching incentivized reviews from verified to non-verified reviews, which made a big difference. And then they did away with them altogether.
Yeah. Now, are you still launching new products today?
I am, yeah. So I took a long break from it because I really worked I would say I averaged about 10 hours of work a week this year because I had a lot of fun this year. I got married and we spent the summer in Southeast Asia, and I worked hardly at all, maybe like a total of 7 days this summer.
And how did everything go with that? Was it and congrats, by the way. But
thank you.
But how did everything go with that? Did all your numbers stay pretty stable with that kind of maintenance workflow? And I have to ask too, because you mentioned delegation and automation back before you took this trip. So yeah, I mean, how did you? Because I'm sure a lot of people want to do that, right? A lot of people want to build this asset up, get the cash flow, and then be able to go off and work 10 hours a week for a couple months if they choose to. So how did that go for you? What were some of the issues? How did you maintain the stability of revenue? Yeah, take us through that.
Yeah, definitely. I think the biggest thing is you have to put in the legwork to get there. You can't just, like, if I would have tried to do that a year before that, it wouldn't have worked. I had to put in that year of hustling to get there because I had to build up. By this time, I had a pretty solid selection of products, both wholesale and private label, and I can talk about that in a little bit. But the biggest thing was really systematizing the business, really writing out everything that happens in the business, and then finding people to fill those roles. So I have a full-time VA, just a general VA that does all of my customer emails, they go through my daily emails and sort out the ones I don't want to read. They just do a bunch of random stuff like that. That's stuff that you find yourself doing every day to keep things running. They manage the inventory, that kind of stuff, and they place my purchase orders for my wholesale products. And then I had, at that time, I switched back to doing it on my own for a little bit, but I was having someone manage my PPC campaigns. I have a part-time bookkeeper that was doing my books. And then on a contract basis, I had a couple other VAs doing random things like graphic design and that sort of stuff. So I really just systematized and delegated as much as possible before doing that. And it was definitely a little nerve-wracking, and I had originally planned to work more than that, but I got to Asia and we went there to climb and surf. Yeah, I was like, I really don't want to work.
Well, and if those hires were working out immediately, and that was my next question was, it seems like just from our small conversation, to make a drastic leap and assumption, it seems like when you choose to do something, you're going to go all out on it. So you chose to delegate, and it sounds like you went all out on it. Like before this trip, you not just tried it with one person, but went with 6, 7 people. It sounds like you built a small army before you took this trip. So that is nerve-wracking in and of itself, right? Making one hire and delegating one thing is nerve-wracking. doing that much that quickly is even more nerve wracking. And then you went to Asia and separated yourself from the situation, and it sounds like it worked out pretty well. So we definitely have to talk about that, because that's tough to do, to be able to hire like 7 people and have them work that well. Like, did any of them not work out for you? Did you have to, get rid of anyone while you were over there?
No, so I guess it made it sound like it was a little bit more, happened a little bit quicker than it actually did. So I've used like contracted out VAs before I hired a full-time general virtual assistant. And so I had a little bit of experience in how that works, and what kind of tasks I could expect people to do. But it wasn't until around that time that I made that post that I actually hired a full-time virtual assistant to do a lot more of the stuff that I was doing day to day. I had always been okay with contracting out the things that I wasn't good at. It took a lot of work to get to the point where I just was able to like delegate the things that I felt like, because sometimes we get trapped into thinking I should be doing all of this. I should be the one answering customer emails and putting in my inventory, like managing my inventory and doing all these random little tasks that we feel like we can do best. And that might be true, that I might have been better than my VA at doing these things, but I also didn't want to do those things. And it was preventing me from growing. I hit a long stretch of time where I stopped growing, because even though I was working a lot, just because I was constantly putting out fires, constantly like doing all the little things that needed to be done, but were really like low level tasks, versus when I started out, I was able to focus solely on the growth aspect because I didn't have all those other little tasks to do.
Yes, there's a great book that really everyone should read. This is one of my favorite business books of all time here, Scaling Up. It's all about what you do with your company after you're making $1 million a year. One really interesting thing that they talk about in this book is whatever the founder is the best at will eventually become what the company's weakness. So if I am the best marketer in the company and I'm founding a company, we're going to have world-class marketing at first, but once we get to $1 million a year, marketing will become the weakest part of our company, because I, as the founder, will feel like it's the last thing I should delegate out. So as the founder's time becomes more in demand, the founder won't have time to do those marketing tasks, but he will feel like it's the last thing he should delegate. So it just ends up that nothing happens in that department. Really valuable insight you had there, and Kyle, you may want to think about reading this book. This
Yeah,
book,
definitely.
more than any book I've ever read, has helped me with the concepts behind scaling up companies. So yeah, really valuable insight there, Kyle. So yeah, you got a lot of different people. It sounds like you had a few months to train everyone up then, so you were pretty confident in it. Smart enough to delegate out your strengths eventually, which again, one of the hardest things for founders to do. John here has a great question, and our question box is actually filling up, so I'll have to start bringing in some of the audience questions here. John wanted to know where you're getting your VAs from.
Good question. Yeah, so I think where I got it from was good. I forget what the name of the website. I think it's Virtual Staff Finder. The guy that wrote that book, I don't even remember the name of the book right now. It's a great book, definitely, if you're going to hire a VA. Will, do you know the name of the book I'm talking about?
It's Chris Drucker.
Yeah, Chris Drucker. I have it here. Let me grab it. I'll see what the name of it is.
Like Virtual Freedom or Youpreneur.
Yep, that's it. Virtual Freedom. Yeah. It's right here. If you're gonna hire a VA, read this book. It's really good. So that helped me a lot, and so I just decided to use his company to hire my first VA, and it definitely went well. I think they charge like $500 or something, and then they vet out VAs, and they give you 3 candidates or whatever, and then you get to interview them, and you pick the best one. So that went pretty well, but also a great place is just onlinejobs.ph, and I know a lot of people that have found really good VAs there, and I would probably do that for my next VA, just because I know what I'm looking for, and I understand VAs a little bit better now, and and what to look for.
And onlinejobs.ph has this new design looking great.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Both of these are really good. I've used both of these before. Onlinejobs.ph will take forever. This is just for the audience, not me like telling you what to do. But for people that have questions about this, onlinejobs.ph is more of a like straight job board. So you have to filter through everybody. And it's cool because it'll say like what their skills are and different things, but this takes forever. Virtual Staff Finder, definitely worth it. It's like $500, and they basically do that for you. They go through onlinejobs.ph, they interview tons of people, they do all that for you, find the best people, and then give you like the top 3 to 5 candidates. So that's a great option as well. Another person had a question here. Any opinions on FreeUp?
Yeah, I'm using FreeUp right now for one worker, just because I had a worker from Upwork that was doing some things, cleaning up some of my books for me, and they weren't very good. I have found good people on Upwork, so that's another place to look. And you'll get a big mix of people on there. You'll get people from the Philippines and all over the world on Upwork, and then you'll also get people in the US that are really expensive. So you can kind of find a lot of different things. But yeah, no, FreeUp's great for some things. I'm using them I've used them for short-term projects, and they tend to find really good people. And I've also used them for some longer-term like bookkeeping projects and stuff too.
Cool. Yeah, and obviously, guys, like FreeUp is going to be less virtual assistants and more contractor sort of thing. Like these are people you can use 5 hours a week, 10 hours a week, as much as you want, pay as you go. Whereas if you go through Virtual Staff Finder or onlinejobs.ph, you're actually hiring someone. So now you have to manage the payroll, and you have to worry about if their electricity goes out and all these things. So keep in mind they're like 2 slightly different things here. And Kyle, that's worth exploring too, because there's actually a lot of questions here about your VAs. Is that how you think about it too? Like you probably have a couple virtual assistants, and these are core team members of yours that you're using to probably manage these people you have through FreeUp and these different part-time contractors and things like that?
Yeah, definitely. And I haven't, I've messed around with that a little bit of having like VAs manage other VAs. And personally, I don't have enough at this point that I kind of like managing them myself, because a lot of what I have people doing is kind of, they're not really working together on a lot of things. So it's not very time consuming for me to talk to my VAs. I mean, my main general virtual assistant is the one I talk to the most, because I have her do all sorts of random things, and I'm constantly adding new tasks for her to do. I have her like look up places for me to stay when I'm traveling. Like she, like researches flights and stuff for me. So she does a lot of like personal tasks for me as well. So that's definitely the most time consuming VA, just because I give her a lot more tasks to do that are not necessarily like, whereas like if my bookkeeper just goes and does the books the same thing all the time, and so I don't really have to direct them a whole lot. And they'll just come to me as needed.
Yeah, makes sense. All right, cool. So we just got real deep into VAs, and I got one last VA question here, and then I guess we can zoom back out, and you can continue taking us through your journey. Nick here wants to know, how much are you paying your VAs? Any incentives, like a bonus that you give them, or anything like that?
Yeah, definitely. And I think this book is a great resource for stuff like that. As far as like wages for VAs go, and how much to pay, and when to give bonuses, when to give time off, that kind of thing. So for my full-time VA, keep in mind this is not a highly trained VA, so you're going to pay different prices based on what the VA does. So as a general virtual assistant, I pay $550 a month, and that's full time. And then whenever I feel like she's working really hard or doing something really good, I'll give her a bonus, or I'll send her a gift in the mail. She has a daughter, so maybe I'll send her a daughter a present, and then just be a good employer. I think a lot of people forget to do that when they have VAs because they sometimes forget that they're real people. And so, send them gifts, give that, like, make sure that you're taking care of them, that you're giving them time off, that you're like managing, because they have holidays that are different than ours in the Philippines. So I like to make sure that all of their holidays are scheduled in my calendar. So when I know that when she's not going to work, that kind of thing. And then, yeah,
I'd imagine that virtual freedom book probably even has a calendar that tells you.
It does have a calendar, indeed. So yeah, like I said, that's a great resource and goes really into depth about all that. But yeah, I pay a general virtual assistant $550 a month, and then it just depends on. So like I have two bookkeepers that work together. I have a high level bookkeeper and a lower level bookkeeper. And the higher level bookkeeper, so this is like the one example that I do have of people managing each other. So the higher level bookkeeper oversees my books. The lower level bookkeeper does all the data input. So I pay the higher level bookkeeper like $16 or $17 an hour, but the lower level bookkeeper I pay like $5 to $6 an hour because it's mainly just data input, not like a highly skilled job. So you can kind of get creative with things like that too. That way the higher level bookkeeper isn't like spending hours and hours just like entering numbers into a spreadsheet.
Cool. Makes sense. All right. Let's get back. I guess let's zoom back out. We do have questions piling up. So at a certain point here, we'll have to jump into the questions. But so continue to take us through your journey, I guess. And I kind of took us way off track. So
no worries.
Yeah. So yeah, continue to take us through all this. So the last I remember before I started to jump further ahead in your journey was you telling us how you did your original product selection. One great question I have here that will probably get us back on track in the chronological version of the story here. Let me find the question. Yes. Alex said, Alex has a good question, and then there's another great question here. How many products did you have that failed before you found that first successful product? And how much cash did you spend per new product at the beginning?
Okay, so let's see. I don't think I had any. I think my very first product was actually a really successful one that I'm still selling. My first two were, and one of them was the baby product that I stopped selling. And then after that, I had like kind of hit and miss products. I kind of got a little cocky because I saw my first two products do really well. And I was like, anything's going to sell. I'll just buy whatever and it's going to sell. I'm putting too much thought into this. And so then I kind of slipped up and had a few failed products. And by failed, I don't mean that they were catastrophic failures and didn't sell at all. I mean, I broke even or something like that. It wasn't like I was losing money.
Yeah, you
but
just didn't continue to sell it. And yeah.
Exactly. They weren't winners. They were just kind of, and they weren't good products. And that's something.
That's a great point too. Sorry to cut you off. How much money did you find yourself losing when you had a failed product? So, were you losing $100 after it was all said and done? Were you, I guess, because a lot of times, me personally, when I have a failed product, a lot of times I'll end up with 5, 10, up to 25, 50 units that just I end up having to throw away or give to Goodwill or something. So, and when you really start to break it down, it's like, well, now I get to write off. Now I get to write it off because I'm giving it to Goodwill. So, how much did you find yourself really losing when you failed with a product?
Not much early on. I don't actually think I lost any money on my first few failed products because they were more just products that I didn't see potential in after I got selling a little bit. That changed a lot. So I think I had maybe launched 4 products before I decided, and I was, 2 of them were doing really well. And so I was like, okay, awesome. I'm making money. Like money's coming in. I'm going to be a millionaire in like a month. And not really, but then so I was like, okay, I want to scale this really fast. And that's where I started making a lot of mistakes. I tried to scale it way, way too fast. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to go to China So I ended up going on a trip with GDW to China, to Yiwu, which, I didn't really know anything about China. I was just like, I'm going to sign up and go and buy a bunch of stuff. And I bought around 16 or 17 new products when I was over there. And I don't think that they would have been failures if it wasn't. I think I can talk about GDW a little bit now. I'm not saying this to bash the company, although they really screwed me over.
Well, I think they're gone now. I think they actually filed bankruptcy, so yeah.
I heard that as well. So when I put that in my post before, I was definitely trying to warn people, not to go on that trip, because basically what happened is I bought all these products and then they never got inspected, and I didn't realize how bad quality Yiwu products were until I got them in the US, because the samples I got looked great when I was there, and I was like handling the products. I was like, oh, these are pretty nice. They look well made. And basically what happened is we were supposed to get inspection on all the products, and that never happened. So I got all these products in the US that never got inspected. And by got all these products, I mean it took 8 months for me to get all my products. And then I still never ended up getting all of them. Just like that, I could spend 2 hours talking about that debacle, but I won't. But basically, everything that could have gone wrong did, and I put way, way too much trust into this one company to handle all of my basically shipping, inspection, prep, and all that stuff. And so it's definitely I want to make it clear that they obviously screwed up as a company, but it's my fault for putting all this trust into them as a company. And it's definitely was my responsibility to vet them a little bit better. And I didn't do that. I just basically said,
I'm the right way to think about it.
Yeah. Because there was a lot of people that trip ruined them. I mean, there was some people that went on that trip that they completely backed out after that, lost a ton of money, and just threw in the towel. And so I think just when things like that happen, you have to recognize that you have a major responsibility in it, and everything you do is, at the end of the day, it's your fault. And if you look at it that way and just know that you're going to get through it, failure happens. And I could have easily given up at that point because I lost a lot of money from that. The thing that saved me is I had a few products that were still doing really well. So those core products that I launched before that trip were kind of taking off still, even while that was happening. So even though I lost a lot of money, I basically just got through that as quickly as I could and started hustling again, launching a few new products, and really trying to make some stuff happen to make up for that loss.
That's good. I want to make clear to everyone that we do not go to Yiwu. And the thing that was crazy about that company was the whole done for you aspect of it, where it was like, hey, come to Yiwu with us. We'll have the translators. We'll do all the shipping. We'll do all the inspections. We'll do all the stateside inspection. We'll check it into Amazon. We'll do everything for you. Yeah, that was a crazy trip. That trip did not have our endorsement. But yeah, the crazy thing is, as I'm sure you know, Kyle, because I'm sure you were introduced to GDW through our group. And this is, the company you're talking about, there are so few people in this world that I have gotten on the phone with and literally screamed at. That company is one of them. Because they basically backstabbed me too and gained my trust. And then I was basically saying, hey, yeah, post in the Facebook group. You guys are doing great. You guys are helping people. And then they turned around and basically preyed on our members to go on this crazy trip to Yiwu. Absolutely crazy. So I'm sorry that you fell victim to that.
It's not your fault. It's definitely, like I said, it's still my fault at the end of the day for I was definitely new and just saw, done for me, everything. I'm not going to have to do anything. I'm just going to have to go. Because at the end of the day, the guy that was leading GDW was a really good talker, really convincing guy of, you're just going to go there and you're going to pick out your products. And then before you know it, they're going to be in Amazon and you're going to be a millionaire. So I always had kind of a sense that something was weird about that, but I didn't really follow my gut instinct on it. And I definitely threw way too much money at it. I was like, oh, I'm just going to buy all these products. And it was still at the time when you could get incentivized reviews. So what actually screwed me the most was I was going after pretty aggressive products that I knew that I was going to need a lot of reviews to compete with. And then it, like, if they would have come in a reasonable time, it would have worked. But basically what happened is I got all of these products like 4 months or 5 months later, when we were supposed to get them like 2 to 3 months later, and they had already banned incentivized reviews. So I had all these really aggressive products that I couldn't get reviews on. So I really needed like 100.
And the quality was terrible too. So even if you did get the reviews, like all the actual reviews that came in after that would have been terrible, and your product would have stopped right there. Yeah. And this is why, guys, and Kyle, feel free to correct me if you disagree with me on this, but generally we don't recommend Yiwu. Yiwu will be, it's a wholesale market. It's the biggest wholesale market in the world, but it's a wholesale market. So it's downstream from the manufacturers and the factories. That's what a wholesale market is, right? They're selling it to you. They're basically distributors for these factories, right? So really tough to get good quality. A lot of shady things happening there. The delays are outrageous, like Kyle said. So generally, like Yiwu, you see a lot of these trips going to Yiwu because Yiwu provides a quick dopamine hit, right? You can bring a bunch of people to Yiwu and show them all these products, and they can think they're going to make money. But Yiwu is very tough to make money on those products. It's like cheap, generic plastic stuff, basically, is what you can make money with at Yiwu. So if you're selling premium products to premium customers and you want the ability to differentiate and make product modifications and things like this quickly, you have to go more upstream. You have to go to the manufacturers and the factories. And that's why I always recommend Canton. That's why we do our trips to Canton. That's why I go to Canton. Yiwu, not really my favorite place to source from. Feel free to correct me if you disagree with that, though, Kyle.
No, I agree 100%. I have, of those almost 20 products or whatever that I sourced, I actually had about 3 of them do really well, but the quality wasn't where I wanted it to be. So I ended up finding different manufacturers for them anyway. So I kept the product, but I found the same exact products with better manufacturers. And yeah, that like I talked about earlier, people, well, I kind of mentioned this, but people just don't sell. Everyone wants to sell the same crappy product as everyone else. But the key in this business is finding a premium product, like you said. So really just going for a really solid product. Like if you want 5-star reviews, instead of worrying about, getting fake reviews and all this other crap that people try to do, just have a good product, just build something that people actually want, and everything else will happen naturally.
So such profound advice. I know there's people on here just starting out who will not understand that. That's literally all the business advice you need in one sentence right there. I think that's brilliant advice. And, I was just speaking recently at Tampa Startup Week, which is like an entrepreneurship conference rather than like an internet marketing conference, which is where I spend more time with internet marketers these days. But yeah, it's crazy to me. These two worlds are never linked up. And when I go to internet marketing conferences, I think I talked about this on last week's session. I go to internet marketing conferences, people don't understand the basic fundamentals of starting businesses. Like, why the hell is anyone going to buy your product? How are you going to make the product better? How are you going to differentiate? Because again, if you have a great product at a great price and you present it in a great way, people are going to buy it. It doesn't matter if it's on Amazon, on eBay, on your own website. That's the business. All this stuff about how to make money on Amazon and little marketing techniques, that is things you have to do if your company sucks and you can't get natural attention and curiosity and dopamine just because your product and brand are awesome. So if you can make the product and brand awesome, yeah, you can do all the funky little Amazon things, but the difference is you're going to make like millions on the funky little Amazon things, rather than that's the only way you make money is knowing how to manipulate Amazon's system this month until they fix it, right? This is why people get so stressed out with is because you're not building a long-term asset. If you build a great product that people are just going to love everything in business just starts happening automatically. It becomes easy. People come to you and help you. But if it's the other way around, like you have to hustle all the time. So profound advice that I just expanded on with about 46 sentences after your one profound sentence. So yeah, great advice there.
Yeah, I mean, you really can't, like, if there's one thing that people should know, and I can't say it enough, is don't sell crappy products. If you sell a crappy product, like you said, you're just touching on, there's so many people that are just so interested in the little tactics on Amazon and how can I how can I make all these crazy little tweaks that nobody knows about and know all this like hacking to do on Amazon. Like, there's so many people that know so much more about that than I do. Like, I really don't even care because it's boring, first of all, and it's time consuming and it's missing the point, right? It's like, just sell a good product and understand the basics of how to sell things on Amazon. And yeah, some of those things have their place, but you don't need to obsess over tweaking your listing and tweaking all these little things and making sure that you have 5,000 keywords in your back end and like all these crazy things that people are so obsessed with. Just have a really good product and the rest of the stuff's so easy.
Right. Such good advice. It really is. Like there's questions in here about reviews and things like that, which I'm going to ask you in a little bit, but like even reviews, right? Whatever, it doesn't matter if your feedback, follow-up emails just say, please leave me feedback. Like it doesn't matter what they say, because if people had a great purchasing experience, they're going to want to leave reviews and help you out. Like everything just gets all the numbers go up when you have a great product that people actually love to use. All right, cool. So I guess let's wrap, because I know you have a somewhat of a cutoff, so we don't want to take this much past 2 hours. Let's, I guess, wrap up the story for me. Like take us from, and we were just talking about the GDW trip. So take me through kind of like from there to now, how has your business changed and everything? And then I do want to get into the questions pretty soon because they are piling up. People have a lot of questions for you. So,
yeah, definitely. So I'll go through some of this stuff real quick. Yeah, like I mentioned, a lot of failed products, especially from that trip. I lost a lot of money from that. And
sorry, I'm going to take this off on a tangent again. But you had 3 successful products from that trip. I always talk about how on a long enough timeline, as long as you don't give up, you're going to make most of your mistakes profitable. Now, do you feel like that has become true? Like this GDW trip was a disaster for you when it first started. In hindsight, was it profitable for you to find those 3 products that you continue to sell to this day? Maybe it wasn't the best decision possible, but are you profitable on that decision?
Yeah, I would say I'm around there because they're not my best products by any means. They sell, and I continue to sell them just because they're easy and they have good reviews and stuff. So I would definitely say it's not unprofitable. I don't know how much. I don't know the math on it, so I don't want to say.
But you're probably just about there where you've broken even. So
yeah.
And I love that concept because it's such a valuable concept for new entrepreneurs to know. I'm sure you know from and it sounds like we have a similar backstory to where like we never bought into so you went to school, I guess. So I checked out a little earlier, but we kind of both unsubscribed from the mainstream success narrative and everything. So I think it's such a valuable concept for people that are still trying to escape that narrative. I think it's really a really valuable concept to understand. Like Kyle made a huge mistake with this trip, and you can tell like it stressed him the hell out. And if he could go back, he wouldn't do it, I'm sure. But it's still going to be profitable for him. He's still going to make money on it, and like that's a really valuable thing to know because when you're just starting in business, people tend to really overestimate how bad things could be if they fail, and they tend to really underestimate how good things could be if it just works a little bit. So really valuable concept there. I just wanted to drill home and take you off of your story one more time. But all right.
It's a great point too. And just to add one more thing to that, it's even money aside, like I'm definitely grateful to have had that experience because I learned so much about myself and about other people from that trip of, I like learned how to take so much more responsibility for my actions, and like that will never happen to me again because of going through that. So I definitely learned probably more from that experience than at any other point in this journey of where I'm at now. So I definitely wouldn't take that back,
Because
because
it's the
it was.
most painful, right? We tend to get the most long-term value out of some of the most painful decisions we make. And a lot of gurus out there sell this idea that if you just pay me, there's going to be no frustration. You just get all the reward with none of the downside, none of the effort.
Yeah.
So we tell people all the time, like, listen, it's going to take effort and frustration to build a business. And anyone that tells you that it doesn't, like, that's how growth happens, is frustration and effort. So.
hmm Yeah, and then the biggest thing too was I didn't have a lot to lose at that point in my life. I wasn't like in debt. I always lived really inexpensively. I just don't spend a lot of money. And I came out of living like I've lived in my camper and stuff like that. And if I lost all my money doing this, it wouldn't be the end of the world. I was young. It's like I could have been okay. So I didn't have this fear around money of like losing everything that a lot of people have. And so that was definitely beneficial to me. But yeah, kind of moving on from that, I around after that, I had a really good product that I built in the climbing specific niche that I went out and found a manufacturer for, and kind of started like I had them produce a new product basically. So it wasn't just a private label product. I was actually like working with them on the design, made a mold and stuff, and then it started selling really well, and then I had a bunch of emails from this guy who was selling a similar version of the product, and was claiming that I was infringing his design patent. And like I knew I wasn't. He only had a design patent on it in Europe, and I probably wasn't even infringing that design patent. But he was like throwing all this like super intense email at me, and like basically threatening me and threatening that he was going to tell Amazon and all this stuff. And that was kind of stressful because he was kind of just, for lack of a better term, he was kind of a douchebag. And
Troll.
yeah. And so then I had a similar thing where like one of my brand names, I was infringing a trademark, and I didn't know it because I didn't really know how to do trademark searches at the time. And it's still not like the trademark search engine kind of sucks. It's like any other government website. It's really just stuck in the 90s and not user friendly at all. So I didn't know that I was infringing a trademark with my name. So I got a cease and desist letter in the mail from a decently big brand, and well, they were still on the small end of brands, but they were bigger than I was. And so I sent a check into a lawyer and everything, and like as the check is in the mail, the owner ended up calling me. And it was kind of a funny conversation because we ended up like having a good conversation. I didn't really care about the brand name, so I offered to change it. And he like almost hired me to run his Amazon account because
I can't tell you how many times I've heard that exact story where people get cease and desists and they end up on the phone and they get off the phone. It's like, all right, now you're just going to get 10% of whatever this brand's on Amazon. I mean, it's a great. I think we even talk about this in the course now. Like, if you get a cease and desist, it's not just automatically end of the world, shut down everything. Like, cease and desist is just kind of like the opening letter in this conversation. Now you have a dialogue open, and you can move from here. There's a perceived wrongdoing, so you can move forward from there. And yeah, I mean, there's more opportunity in cease and desist a lot of the time than downside.
Yeah, it was funny too because at the time, like his product was really good too. This guy was on Shark Tank, and he like was like that was his sole product, and it was really good. It was better than mine, but I was outselling him by so much until he actually went like until the Shark Tank episode aired, and then he started outselling me. But it was just really funny because he's like we both knew, like, you have the better product, and I'm just killing you in sales because you have no idea what you're doing on Amazon. So that was kind of funny, but it didn't end up working with him. But at least we don't hate each other. And then, so yeah, after that, one of the biggest things that helped me out was I started getting into wholesale a little bit. So it was just I started basically calling up brands and getting wholesale accounts with them, and that involved a lot of getting shut down because most brands don't want to deal with you if you're an Amazon seller, especially now. Like, this was last year, and it was a lot easier then. I don't even deal with it anymore because I have like 5 solid relationships with really solid brands that do a lot of volume and aren't accepting new Amazon sellers at the time. So I'm in a really good position with a lot of those brands. A couple of them were actually products that I saw elsewhere that weren't on Amazon that I thought would do really well on Amazon because they were selling off of Amazon really well. So I basically called up the brand owners and said, hey, like, let me bring you on to Amazon. I know what I'm doing. And so those have turned into really good relationships. And I have a couple where I'm actually the sole Amazon reseller. It's, I basically just put in my purchase order and I manage their Amazon listings, and my inventory goes into Amazon. It's like the easiest money I make. So it just requires so little effort from me. And I don't know that I recommend, like, I think it's worth exploring that, but it's also, you have to realize that those opportunities are becoming rarer and rarer, but they're still out there. So it's something to consider. Just because that, even if all my private label products stopped selling, those would continue selling, and they're really steady income for me.
Yeah, and that's like the pros and cons of wholesale versus private label right there. Is wholesale, you're going to get, immediate cash flow, not have to do much else other than just sell the product and collect the check. But you're building someone else's brand, someone else's asset. Mm-hmm. Every time you make a sale, that person's company is becoming more valuable, and you're just getting your commission basically. Whereas if you're doing private label, you get the cash flow plus you're building that long-term asset. So I think exactly. It's great to eventually do both. It's absolutely great to eventually do both. They're both really using the same skill set, right? It's all about being able to position products correctly on Amazon, create effective, high-converting product listings, and being able to distribute products more effectively than anyone else on Amazon. So once you know how to do that, whether it's with your own private label brands or someone else's brand, it's going to be easy to make money off of that skill. So,
yeah, definitely. And, I think like you just said, private label products are best for, scaling and long-term growth, like, because they're going to have more of an exponential growth curve than wholesale products, whereas wholesale is almost on the level of, it's a step above arbitrage where you're actually going out and buying stuff all the time. Wholesale is better than that, but you're still just, buying something and selling it at a higher price. And you're not really growing your own brand. You're not really growing your own brand's value. So there's one of the best things that has come out of that, though, I will say, is I'm actually talking about investing in one of the brands that I brought to Amazon. So that's kind of a cool opportunity that came from that. And then let's see, from there, I'm launching, like I said, I started launching a few more of my own products. I'm at a place now where I have 2 Amazon accounts under 2 separate LLCs, which I did for a specific reason. Basically, I have my older products that I have on my older LLC, and on my newer LLC, I have some products I'm really excited about that I put a lot of effort into. It wasn't just me going on Alibaba and sourcing the products. It was actually me using a sourcing agent, working with manufacturers to develop something new that I think is really good. So a product that I'm really stoked on the quality and all of that, and things that I can really build a brand around. So I have those on the newer Amazon account, and then the older Amazon account, I'm actually talking with some brokers about looking to sell it this year, which is exciting because then I have a kind of a chunk of change from that. And
van.
yeah, and then while I still have this other Amazon account still bringing in money. So.
Nice. All right, great. So I guess that wraps up the story and where we're at now. When did you get back from Southeast Asia, by the way?
I got back in October, so I got married in June, and then we left right after that, and spent some time in Thailand climbing, and then spent a few months in Indonesia surfing, and then and some of that time, which was actually pretty cool, something to note. And I actually took a trip like this recently where I was completely disconnected from internet. I couldn't even like check anything about it. I was in Sumatra for like 2.5 weeks, no internet service at all, and my business was running itself. So that was pretty cool.
Nice. Very cool. All right, cool. Well, I guess let's start getting into questions because I have a lot of them, and we're gonna see if we can get all these done in about 50 minutes. So I'm gonna start at the beginning. So all these questions, we're gonna kind of jump back to the beginning of our conversation and go through. But yeah, let's start getting through to these questions. Derek asked, "Can you burn out doing this?" Which I know the answer.
Yeah, you can burn out doing anything, but especially this, because I think a lot of people go way too hard in this, and that's great. Some people just want to hustle and make a lot of money, but I like personally I like Gary Vee sometimes, but as a
lifestyle.
As a lifestyle, I definitely want to be as far away from what Gary Vee does as possible, because he's like hustle, hustle, hustle. Like, don't do anything else in your life. Just work all the time. And especially if you're doing something like this, none of us love doing this. Maybe there's a few people out there that are obsessed with Amazon, this is life. But for me, it was just I just want to make money and do whatever else I want to do in life. And so today, for instance, I woke up, I went to the climbing gym, I did yoga, I spent some time in a sauna. I went to the park and slacklined. I spent 2 hours working today, and that's awesome. That's what I want it to be for this. Down the road, I'd like to start a business that I'm more passionate about and that I'm willing to put more time into because I love doing it. This is not that. This is how I make money, and I think a lot of people forget that sometimes and kind of work themselves into burnout. And like I said, there's definitely that period in the beginning where you have to put in the time and the effort to hustle and to grind and to get it off the ground. But after that, and once you're making a sustainable income, grow it slowly, grow it at a pace that you want to grow it at. And, also grow it with the end in mind. Like I said, I'm selling one of these businesses so that I can invest the money and have it, grow on its own without having to do anything. And I think that a lot of people don't think that that's a possibility when starting out. I definitely didn't, but I've talked to so many people that are my age or younger that are selling or have sold their businesses for millions of dollars, and they've been doing it for 3 or 4 years. It's what other business model can you do that in, where you can have a business that's 3 years old and sell it for $5 million? That happens.
Yeah. And to be able to start it with $50 and just send one product into FBA all the way up to that level, it's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
John had a great kind of follow-up question to this, and feel free to answer this however you'd like, my friend. John Ellicott said, "How much do you want for your business, and what sort of money does it make?" Yeah.
You shoot me an email, but it's probably going to be somewhere around $1 million, ideally. But yeah, I mean,
you can work backwards from there. If you know about how businesses are valued, you can work backwards from there and find out what the revenue and profit are.
Exactly. I'm not gonna sales pitch you right now on my business, but it's coming to a brokerage website near you soon.
Mm-hmm. Are you doing it on Empire Flippers or something different?
No, I'm actually deciding on the broker right now because I'm talking with a few and deciding which one I want to work with. I've talked to it. I have some friends that have sold using various brokers, so I have some insight into that world. But currently making that decision, kind of this week actually. So.
Yeah, Facebook messaged me after this too. I'll hook you up with. There's one guy I know who like literally 2 weeks ago, just started in this mission to go buy 101 FBA businesses and roll them up into a public company. Yeah, hit me up after this.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, I'll intro you to him. All right. Let me jump back up to the top here. Moment. Yeah, Britt had a great question. Do you sell on any other platforms but Amazon?
Yes, I do sell on eBay, and I have sold on Shopify. I don't currently. Most of my sales are like 95% of my sales are on Amazon, just because I'm lazy. I don't really like. Walmart's been sending me some emails to sell on their platform, and I'm going to with these newer products. But with the other products, I just didn't really care. I was making enough money that like I didn't want to put the effort in to do that at the time. But with these newer products, I probably will branch out because I think they're products that are well suited. Well, at least one of them is well suited towards Walmart, I think. So yeah, I'm going to branch out there, and I don't even sell on the UK market or the the Germany market or anything like that. And I might with these newer products, but I just haven't felt the need to right now for my current products.
Yeah, which I'm sure there's tons of people here saying, "Man, so much opportunity, but living the life." Yeah, I mean, because you could just take your products over to the EU with a company like Satisup and probably bump your revenue up 10-15% just off that.
Yep.
But I'm sure you know all these things.
Yeah, I do, and I've had some friends that are like, "Why don't you sell in your market?" And I'm just like,
"Well, yeah, I mean, you got to know what your goal is with it. Yeah, I mean, if you're, it sounds like you're enjoying life plenty right now, so."
Yeah, definitely, and that to me just adds more work to my life, and I just don't want that right now. So
yeah, that's great. Where do you live, by the way?
I live in Salt Lake City, Utah.
So didn't you say you didn't say you went surfing today?
No, I went to the climbing gym and I went to the park and did yoga. But no, I do spend about.
You said slackline.
Yeah, I went slacklining. I do spend about. I try to spend 2 or 3 months a year surfing. So I'm actually going to Costa Rica in a month here to do some surfing, and then yeah, I was in Indonesia for the summer.
Nice, that should be cool. I would say hit me up when you're in Tampa, but there are no waves here. Laura McKenna asked, reviews. Any tips for review email subject lines that actually get opened? I guess, can you talk about just how you're getting reviews both originally and so how are you getting those initial reviews, and then what kind of system do you set up to get reviews on an ongoing basis?
Yeah, definitely. And this is a big crux for people right now because like I was talking about when I started, it was so easy. You could go onto somewhere like ReviewKick and give a discount on your product and you'd get instant reviews, and it was great. But it was also everyone else could do that. So, it was great, but at the same time, like your competitors were also doing that. So the review counts for everybody were really high. And I actually had on one of my main products, I probably had 200 of those reviews removed when they stopped allowing incentivized reviews because they went and just wiped everyone's incentivized reviews.
That was a bad day.
Yeah, that was a bad day. But I actually really think it's a good thing now because it makes the barrier to entry harder. And I like that. Especially like if you're willing to put in the work to get a product up and running, you don't have to worry about someone coming in overnight with 500 reviews, which you used to have to worry about. So I think the biggest thing, number one, is have a really good product that people are naturally going to give good reviews on. I don't worry too much about like the actual follow-up email as well. It's important to craft a nice one and just make it, just word it well and make it something that you'd want to open, and just, talk to people like they're people. Don't talk to people like you're selling them something. But at the end of the day, don't worry too much about like every little, don't nitpick it too much, I guess is what I'm saying. Some things that have helped me get initial reviews. I I'm sure you could think of a few ways to get like 5 reviews. I won't go ahead and advocate that, but like if you need to get a couple of reviews to get a new product off the ground, I'm sure you can call someone that you know in Florida or across the country. Don't make sure that you don't know them too much, but like if you need a couple of reviews, that's understandable. But to get a lot of reviews really fast, I found what really helps is I do a lot of influencer marketing. So I put out my products to people that are really strong in that niche on YouTube, especially, and that have a big impact in that niche. I find people that like my product, and influencer marketing right now is one of the best things you can do to boost external traffic to your Amazon listings. And it's one of the things that helped me the most in the last year, because, you know, I've had products where I just literally just given it for free to the influencer. They make a really nice video about it or include it in one of their videos, and then have a link with a discount code in their video description. And you wouldn't believe how many views and traffic you can get from that if it's the right fit for your product and if it's a good influencer. I find that people that are passionate, because you're getting a more passionate group of people that are like watching videos about something. And if that influencer is talking really highly about your product, I find that those types of people tend to leave more reviews. So that's something to consider. But yeah, you have to realize that reviews are going to happen slowly, and just treat your customers really well. Like I find that some of my best reviews come from like my customer service. So I am really over the top, and I train my VA that handles my customer service to be really over the top nice and just awesome to people. Like treat people really, really well, and they'll be stoked on your brand. Like I can't tell you how many good reviews I've gotten from like seemingly bad situations of like product showed up and it was damaged or something like that, and you just go over the top, like send them another product, like don't worry about sending it back, you know, just tell them, just like be really personable with people. And then you can always just like, hey, you know, maybe it's someone that left a bad review or someone that like, you know, hasn't left a review. Just you can kind of hint at it after all of that's said and done. Like it's not something you want to ask people right off the bat, but if you like wow them and make them really happy, then you can be like, oh yeah, and by the way, you know, we'd be really stoked if you could help us out with a review.
Yeah, you're leveraging the law of reciprocity. So if you go above and beyond, if someone feels like you've done something for them, they feel very uncomfortable until they do something for you. So it's just the law of reciprocity. And absolutely, most of your best reviews and your biggest fans are going to come out of your customer service more than your product. But again, great advice. The product is the marketing. There's a great concept. I forget who came up with it, but talking about how in a perfect economy, right, in an economy with perfect information where we can, you know, where everyone has a voice, where every customer can voice their opinion of a product and all these things, the product becomes the marketing in today's economy. So it is so important to just have a great product that people actually love and then actually care about it, like actually care about making your product better and having customers love the product. That is better than any Amazon hack out there. As we
yeah. And like the best products that I have are the ones that I use. You know, like, would you actually use your product? And there's so often the case, and I'm guilty of it too. There's some that I sell that I'm like, no, I would never use that. That product sucks. And I've definitely been there before. But my best products are the ones where I'm like I use that on a daily basis. It's something that it's actually a really nice product, and I would buy that.
Yeah. Great stuff. All right, cool. So I could continue down that tangent, but we are drowning in questions, so we're going to continue on with questions. John Elcott said, do you use Viral Launch for your research? And someone else had a similar question here, so let me ask that one as well. What software are you using to evaluate your product searching? Jungle Scout, Viral Launch? Yes.
All right, I'm gonna turn my screen. There's like a beam of light coming in my window.
I saw that, man. I was thinking like we have to end this at 9 p.m. because this man's gonna go blind at that time.
Yeah, I tried to put. I need to get new blinds because they're just, if I close them, then it's just like scattered throughout my body. So no
Right.
real fix for it. Yeah, so I do use Jungle Scout just for the Chrome extension, but I think the biggest trap people fall into is just relying on tools to find a product. Um, Manual research is still the best way to find a good product. Use the tools after you've found a product. Don't just find a product using the tools. Find, and I like to talk about markets versus products too. Find the right market and find a market that that you think is a good market to go into, and like kind of a group of products that is selling well versus a single individual product, and then kind of explore that market, see what that market's missing. Maybe there's a product that doesn't even exist on Amazon yet that would be a really good fit for the people that are buying tons of this other product on Amazon or something like that. So don't just think in terms of product and data. While that's great, start with what's a good product and do manual research. Look through a niche that you're interested in, and kind of see what people are buying, see where the trends are, like see where the demand is, and then try to fill that demand and use the data to verify that demand. Don't start with just like, I definitely am guilty of doing this at first too, of just like looking through Jungle Scout and basically pulling off random products. I don't think that works as much anymore because it's becoming more and more competitive, and everyone else is seeing that data too, right? So start with the manual research and find something that you're like, okay, I could make a really cool product here. And maybe there's something that's out there that there's not a good version of. Maybe I can upgrade this product and make some tweaks to it. And those are going to be your best products, the ones that are like, you're not just selling the same thing as everyone else. And that's the trap that everyone falls into, is like, I'm just going to go sell the same crap that everyone else is selling. And even though there's 100 other people selling the same exact product, they still think, they kind of delude themselves into thinking that I'm going to sell garlic presses too, even though there's 5 million garlic presses on Amazon and they're all the same.
Jungle Scout told them to.
Exactly. And that's why it's important not to start with the data. So start with like a good product idea. Like, forget everything about Amazon research first. And just like, if you were naturally to think of how am I going to create a good product, go through that process first and then use tools like Jungle Scout to verify demand.
Yes, absolutely. So Laura, I got 2 wholesale questions for you here, or I guess 3. Laura McKenna wants to know what percentage of your product offerings are wholesale versus private label, and what percentage of your income is wholesale versus private label?
Those are numbers that I should probably know better. Accounting and bookkeeping and numbers are not my strong suit. I'll say that right off the bat. So that's why you should just hire a bookkeeper. But I definitely have more wholesale products than I do private label products, just because I get, I have accounts with, like, I have an account with one brand that has 5,000 SKUs. I don't sell anywhere close to that because they're not products necessarily that would do well. But it's really easy once you have an account with a good brand to roll out a lot of products and to pick all the ones that are going to sell well. So I definitely have a lot more products by quantity of wholesale than I do private label, but my income is actually higher on the private label side because they're products that I put a lot of time into, that I know that I had a strong hunch going into that we're going to sell really well. And I don't look for products private label wise that are going to sell 5 a month, where I have a couple of wholesale products that sell 5 to 10 a month, and I'm totally happy with that because I literally just put it on the purchase order and it goes to either Prep Center or goes straight to Amazon. Like, I don't have to do anything. So why not?
You don't got to worry about quality. You don't got to worry about packaging. You don't have to worry about updating the product or updating the packaging or all these different things.
Exactly. So yeah, definitely like my single SKUs that are private label bring in a lot more money profit wise than my wholesale products do. I actually have a couple of wholesale products that bring in really high revenue that have just, as of the past few months, have bringing in really high revenue. So they make my numbers look really great right now. But the margins on them are, 10, 20%. So the margins are just a lot lower in wholesale.
Yeah. Great stuff. Yeah, I think the diversification of income is really important when you're at Kyle's level. But you got to keep in mind that, when you're first starting out, you got to choose a strategy and go hard at it, which is what Kyle did. It's important to diversify out after you have, if you have $1 million in revenue with like 3 private label products, it's important to diversify your revenue because it will give your company more stability and security in the long run. But yeah, just random information to throw in there.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin has an additional wholesale questionnaire. Do you have a strategy for contacting wholesale suppliers? And it sounds like you in general are more of a take action guy, figure it out as you go, and not a go find scripts and things like that to go off of. So I'm guessing your strategy of contacting wholesale suppliers is pretty much getting in touch with them. But can you, I guess, talk about how did you approach that? Is there any good tips you have for anyone here?
Yeah, and so this is it definitely depends on the brand and how big they are and what So I definitely approach an established brand that already has products on Amazon, that already has sellers on Amazon, a lot differently than I approach a product that doesn't exist on Amazon, for instance, like the products that I brought onto Amazon that weren't already there, because those were a lot smaller people of like maybe a couple people running that company, and I call them up and say, hey, you guys aren't even on Amazon, like here, like I've built, like I like to be really honest with people. I think a lot of people you definitely have to fake it a little bit. You don't want to seem too small. You don't want to seem like some guy in his pajamas in his basement, because no one wants to sell to that guy. But for instance, if you're just approaching a brand, you have to give them some sort of value. You can't just be a leech. If you are just contacting them saying, hey, I want to buy your product and sell it on Amazon, well, so does everyone else. And I actually, as I've grown one of these brands, especially on Amazon, they get so many requests now from sellers that want to sell their product on Amazon. And they say no, because I put in that effort to get them there, and they know that. And I've explained to them why taking on more Amazon sellers is not going to help them. It's just going to cause price wars and all these things that the brand doesn't want. So you have to give some sort of value. You really have to show how you can grow that brand on Amazon and be, you need some sort of value prop in growing maybe their product listing on Amazon, or their, like, for instance, a lot of the products that I was selling, like they had listings that had one photo, that had like zero like information in their bullet points, that kind of stuff, didn't have any keywords. So I just did some really basic things. Maybe I'm running some advertising campaigns for them, stuff like that. So you have to call them up and show them why you can help them.
Pitch them. You got to sell them.
Exactly. You have to sell them on like why you're going to be good for their brand.
Yeah. Great advice there. And a great thing you can do, guys, if you're really having trouble with that, start a conversation about that in the Facebook group. I'm sure, we have a real healthy dialogue in the Facebook group about what you should be pitching to these people. What is your value proposition to a manufacturer? Why should they let you sell on Amazon? Because again, those, the core of business is that, like, what's in it for them. So you got to figure that stuff out before you get on the phone with them. Like, figure out how you're going to approach this and everything. What's in it for them? Because you definitely got to sell them.
Yep, and a good point came up in there. Call them. Get on the phone with them. Do not email them. There's so many people that just like expect, like, I'm going to send out a few emails. If they accept you from an email, you probably don't want to sell their brand, because there's probably 50 other people selling it.
Yeah, a great point. A very good point there. Yeah, you want to, if you're going to do wholesale, you want brands that are tough to get to. Like, you don't want the easiest brands to sell, because those are the brands that are going to have no margin. And those are also going to be the biggest headaches, the toughest products to sell and the smallest margin.
Definitely.
All right. So Kevin said, where would you recommend looking for hire bookkeepers and it sounds like you got yours off of Virtual Staff Finder or something like that.
Yeah, so I've used a variety. So I've gone through a couple bookkeepers because I started out trying to find the cheapest bookkeeper I could, which was a mistake. Pay a little bit of money for your bookkeeper because it's an important task. I had to redo all of my books a while back, and it just was such a pain. Like, just start good bookkeeping from the beginning and learn how, things like cost of goods sold work and stuff like that, because I had absolutely no idea how any of that worked to start with, and my books were such a mess. So start as early as you can with that. But I mean, anywhere you can go to Virtual Staff Finder, you can go to, if you just need, like, I've used FreeUp for shorter term, like cleanup projects, that sort of stuff, or to set up a chart of accounts, that kind of things. And even Upwork stuff. I've used Upwork for bookkeepers. It doesn't really matter. You just really know what you're looking for, and don't be too cheap. If you're going to pay someone $3 an hour, they're not going to do a good job.
Yes, and go over your books every month, because like Kyle said, you don't want to get some bad bookkeeper and then just hand over the books to a CPA to file taxes on those bad books. It is somewhat important to understand the basics of what a distribution is, how money leaves the company, how you're being taxed, and things like that. Yeah, certainly important to know. If you have a lot of trouble with bookkeepers, bench.co is a good resource. They're going to be more expensive than most, but it is going to be like that concierge service where they're going to be able to answer questions for you if you have them, help you figure out where things should be classified, shouldn't be classified. They're not going to help you save money, but that's what a CPA does. But now we're getting into the weeds, I guess. So get on to the next question. Justin said, Kyle, can you describe the criteria? Okay, we kind of did this one. Skip that one. Justin, we already asked about initial product research. Gerald Congdon, Gerald and Petra said, at what stage were you at when I bought your product, and how long after that great product for musicians did your breakthrough come? Thanks for being such a great inspiration. Because Gerald said earlier that he actually bought a product from you. I don't know when, but at some point.
Yeah, he bought my baby product that I didn't want to sell anymore.
Oh, okay, perfect, nice.
Yeah, so I hope that's still selling well for you, because it did really well for me and ranked really quick, really fast. But I didn't want to deal with baby products. So what was the question? How long after that?
Oh, so Gerald didn't buy a product from you. He bought the business basically.
I think I sold him a product. Did I sell you a product? I'm sorry.
I don't know.
Or was that somebody else? Okay.
Yeah, it's Gerald. Gerald's in here. He said he bought a product from you, but so is he selling that product now, or? I don't think.
Honestly,
I don't know.
I feel really bad. I don't know if it was you that I sold that product to, or maybe I just I might have had him do a review or something. I don't remember.
Well, regardless, Gerald would like to know, how long after did your breakthrough come?
That was probably around the time that I went to China. So I would say I went downhill after that, and then after that is when it was really after I got back from China that I fixed everything that went wrong with that. Kind of got my ducks in a row as far as damage control from that trip, and then it was after that I really so I started out really strong, had that happen, lost a bunch of money, and then came back from that and came back stronger than I started.
Nice. I'm reminded of the little entrepreneur meme thing you see all over the place, little graph of the roller coaster of entrepreneurship and whatnot. Ups and downs.
I like the one that's the daily ups and downs of I'm awesome, and then I suck, I'm broke, and it's one day
I'm going bankrupt. I'm gonna be rich.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, both can happen.
Totally.
It's all just based on you and what you're doing. So yeah, I mean, it's the crazy part is it's not irrational. It's completely realistic.
Yep.
Beatrice said, Kyle mentioned he designed his own brand. Do I need to hire a product designer for this, as I can only give a rough sketch, or the designs usually provided from the manufacturer side? So I guess we can talk in general about how to do product development on a new invention. Kyle took a great route, which if it's available to you, this is a great route to go. It sounds like, Kyle, you went to the manufacturer or a manufacturer and basically worked with their team to create the molds and the CNC, all of the blueprints and schematics basically that go into creating a product from scratch. So is that what you did for your for your product that you made?
Yeah, and I've actually made, I don't know, probably like 6 custom products at this point of like fully like products that didn't make it, something similar to existed, but I wanted a custom design on it. So it's really easy. A lot of manufacturers, depending on the type of product that it is, a lot of manufacturers are really good about, you bringing them an idea. Even like sometimes it's been as simple as like my wife is an artist and she does really good drawings, so I'll have her like draw what I want. No engineering needed, just like a simple sketch of like, here's what I want and here's the features I wanted to have. Can you make this? And a lot of times they're like, yeah, and they have designers that work for them and stuff too, so they can make an actual model of that and then produce it. So manufacturers are usually pretty good about customizations and things like that.
Now, Fitra, I'll give you a couple different options as well. You can go to a company like Star Prototype, or there's a company in Shenzhen that does this as well. But you can go to a rapid prototyping company and basically work with them. They will have the designers, the industrial designers, and everything to basically what they'll basically do is 3D print the product at different parts of the product many times to perfect it, and then they'll work with you to find a manufacturer who can create a mold and all that. So that's an option if you have a very sophisticated product. I love the route that Kyle went by going to a manufacturer that already had similar products and working with them to modify. And now if it's completely from scratch, that usually isn't an option. But a lot of the times you can do that route. The last route, which is probably the least recommended route, would be but you can do this for like simple products. You can go on like Upwork and find an industrial designer to work with you on your team and create the product as well, and then get it out to a manufacturer. So a couple different ways to do it, but those are the 3 I would recommend. And you got what Kyle did as well. Alex Smith said, and we are down to maybe our final like 10 questions here, so we might even have some hope of ending this shortly after the 2-hour cutoff. So Alex Smith said, with so many people doing private label products right now, would it be a good idea in 2018 to design and create products like Kyle did, one step further than private label? I think that's a great idea. All throughout the course, it tells you that you should, like, that's the eventual goal. People right now, people think about like private label, wholesale, manufacture, like as if they're these different industries. These are all just different functions of a brand. This is a different functions of a company that you can make money in any different way you want. Once you have a brand, once you have a message that impacts people, products that impact people, you can do all this stuff. So there's all these different ways to make money. The problem is, how do you get started? If you want to get started creating products from scratch, you got to have at least $5,000 ready to blow, and understand that you might lose it all. Like there's no guarantee that a freshly designed product is going to sell at all. If you want to go into that world, read The Lean Startup. Great book. Talks about how to minimize downside, maximize upside, which again, we've already done that for you in the course. But again, like the course is all about how to start this business from scratch, because yeah, I mean, it's great to go out there and design products, but how do you know anyone's going to buy them? Where you get the funding to create the molds and everything? Like the costs on this sort of thing can spiral out of control so quickly. Like if molds start breaking, or like things can start going very wrong, and costs can start piling up here. All of a sudden, you're in $20,000 before you even have a working mold. So it is a different world, and I think everyone here should get to that eventually. But it's certainly at Kyle's level. Like, worry about these things after you're making 50, 100 grand a month. If you try to create things from scratch before that, I don't think you're going to have a good time. I don't think you're going to have the experience to make it work. Like it's a whole new set of problems that you have to tackle. So I think it's an awesome idea to create your own products. But again, what I think is you should find products that are already working, get that market, develop that customer base. Once you have customers, you can go out there and say, hey, you already bought 3 of my rock climbing products. Here's a brand new product. I think you're going to love it. Now you can sell your thing. Hell, you can even go pre-sell the product to pay for the mold, right? But to start this business is a very different game than to grow this business, which, you know, every business is like that. To get something off the ground is a completely different set of tasks and problems than to build it up. So.
Yeah, and to add to that a little bit is just to, when you're starting, don't go out and create a brand new product from scratch unless you have a ton of money and some experience in this. But just look for a way to make your product a little bit better than the competition. You know, how can you stand out? How can you differentiate? You know, make your product so that it's better than the competitors, but just through a few small tweaks if you can. And then have really good packaging. Just like be the premium product. Don't just do what everyone else is doing. See if you can just like tweak a few things on it. Like go through, read all the negative reviews about a product, see what people don't like about it, and that'll tell you so much about little ways you can improve it.
Yes, absolutely. And then the game becomes, how are you presenting those improvements in your listing? Because if you present those improvements correctly, there's no like ladder you have to climb up. There's no brand recognition you need. If your product is positioned and feels like the better option when people search for it, that day you can take them over. Like that market's yours now. So yeah, great advice. I love that advice has basically come up 4 or 5 times now, because it is like the whole Amazon guru industry is hacks, and look how sexy and exciting this stuff is. But the core way of how you succeed is the same as every other business in history, like great products, great prices, make people's lives better. If you do those simple things, every hack you do is going to be super effective. If you don't do those things, hacks are the only thing you're going to live on.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Justin asked, how do you find the brand owners to contact for your wholesale products? Good question.
When I started out, it was a mix. Like I said, I brought a couple of products to market, to Amazon that were selling on different sort like different places, maybe their own website or brick and mortar or something like that. So that I think that's a great route that's not very explored very often. They're hard to find, and I happened to just like stumble upon them through, you know, personal interactions with the brand. But then just the same way you look for good products, for private label products, just go on Amazon, browse around, see if there's any, like, you want to look for brands that don't look like they have everything together. You know, look for brands that are maybe selling products but don't have good listings, don't have a ton of sellers. You like definitely don't want a ton of sellers and like people price warring each other. That's not a product you want to sell. So just, yeah, browse around, look for, you know, if you just stumble around Amazon and look and see what's selling, that's a good way to look and see what brands to go after.
Cool. Great advice there. Kevin wants to know, what is your opinion on Amazon PPC ads?
That is a broad question. You should use them. It's getting harder and harder to have profitable campaigns, but it's a good way to get some additional traffic to your products. And you know, I think it's still reasonable to, like, my goal with most PPC campaigns is just to break even. If I, you know, people are obsessed with getting, you know, 10% ACoS and stuff like that. That's pretty hard to do in today's advertising market on Amazon. I'm more worried about increasing my overall brand awareness and sales from PPC than I am actually like making a bunch of money from PPC. So I'm okay with breaking even. most of my campaigns do better than break even, but as long as it's breaking even, I'll keep running it and try and tweak it over time to become more profitable. But I mainly just want increased sales and increased visibility. And that's my goal most of the time from PPC and AMS too. Also use AMS because that can be great advertising, and anyone can sign up for AMS now.
Nice. Very good. And I know you said you're potentially even looking at getting a VA to, consistently optimize your PPC campaigns even further.
Yeah, I actually had I had two people running my PPC campaigns that were people that had experience. I wouldn't give it to any VA and like try and train them. It's good to find someone that has some experience with that if you could go that route. And the people I was using were great, but I just was spending a lot of money on it, and it just wasn't. I just didn't think it was worth the money I was spending on it, and I kind of just wanted to manage it myself for a little bit to kind of get the feel back for where my campaigns were at, and then I'll probably outsource it again in the near future.
Cool. Just wants to know, how many private label products do you have now in order to achieve the results you have?
Well, I actually just got rid of a few more. I had a few that were like you're just doing, and so I got rid of them. I'm at about 15 private label products right now. I've been as high as like 25 plus, but I phased out a few of them just to focus on the ones that were selling really well.
Cool. Let's see. I have maybe 7 questions left. So guys, keep the questions coming. We got about 10 minutes before we have to start really speeding up here. So Nick wants to know, what business or service company did you use to acquire your sourcing agents?
That's a good question. So I actually just recently had a good experience with a company that I went through. I think the website was like Import Dojo or something, but they just outsourced to a sourcing agent in China. That's a good cheap option. Like if you just want a few, like they basically provide 3 results based on what you asked for. And I had good results from them. There's tons of sourcing agents out there, and it just depends on how in-depth your sourcing request is. There's another one I know that you had him on recently, Will. I forget what their name is, but Sourcify or something like that. I think that seems like a good option.
I'm going to show everyone. So
yeah,
Sourcify is awesome. I also own like 0.25% of Sourcify. That's how awesome I think they are. Sourcify is an awesome company. These guys are trying to basically do what Flexport did for freight forwarding, do that same thing for sourcing. So you're only going through their verified, pre-vetted, pre-inspected factories. It's like the top 1% of factories in the world. These guys are awesome and super cheap right now because it's all funded by Silicon Valley investors, and they're trying to lose money right now to basically get customers and build the business. So I think Sourcify is an awesome place to go. It's going to be a little bit different from most other sourcing companies out there, but I think this is kind of the future of sourcing. Guided Imports is an awesome sourcing company. They are pretty good as well. And then IMEX Sourcing is another one that I'm friends with these guys. They're very good. I will be hanging out with all 3 of these guys at the Sourcing Summit. So for all of you going on the Sourcing Summit, you'll get to meet every single one of these guys that run these 3 companies. But yeah, sourcing agents can be a great way to go, especially as you start to grow more quickly and you don't want to sit on Alibaba and source all day. These can become very effective because it really cuts through a lot of the BS. Again, Sourcify, they only accept 1% of the factories they vet, I think. So yeah, you can see where this is just quicker, a little bit more expensive, but much quicker and much more reliable way to get really good products sourced really well.
Yeah, and I don't own any of Sourcify, and I still would recommend them, even though I haven't used them yet. They seem like I've talked with them before and had some conversations with them, and they seem like a really cool company, and I would definitely use them in the future.
Yes, they're doing well. Cool. Yeah, and it even has like how it works down here. So Sourcefy will be a little bit different than most other sourcing agents, but they're basically, you know, systematizing and automating a lot of the process. So these guys are very good too. I think I'm going to bring guided imports in pretty soon for a power hour session. So hopefully we'll be able to get you guys a discount or something. With I think you guys already have a discount for Sourcify, but we'll get you discounts with these guys too.
Yeah, and one thing to add with that is sometimes I've had to use a sourcing agent because my product isn't on Alibaba. And that's a great place to be, because if your product's on Alibaba, that means that it's really easy for other people to start selling too. So if you find a really good product idea that's not on Alibaba, you know, use a sourcing agent and get that product made, and you have a leg up right there, just because it's harder to get your product made than going on Alibaba and contacting a supplier.
Yes, yeah, great advice there. And in general, same advice as the product research tools, right?
Mm-hmm.
Jeffrey said, I'm just getting started. What are the average margins for this industry? For instance, you gross 100K. What's the typical net? So this is going to vary quite a bit, because if
Mm-hmm.
you know if I pay 30 grand for inventory, end up with 100 grand, and I pay myself 70 grand a year, I'm going to have no net. Now, again, like you really, this is a very common question. Like, what's the profit? I don't really like this question, because just every company is going to invest those dollars differently. Like Amazon intentionally does not take profit. They never will. If Amazon ever made like $6 billion, they would go try to send someone to Mars, because they don't want to pay taxes. So what's the average margin though from you know, a cost of goods sold perspective? I'll tell you that our net margins across our entire company, so 11.5 million a year, our net margin across the entire company, payroll, taxes, everything, inventory, it ends up being about 30 to 40%. So we have really high margins though. Most companies that big won't get that kind of margin. For 100K, like if I sold 100K worth of product, I would probably expect to pay like, you know, anywhere from 20 to 40 on the actual inventory, and then a good amount to actually get it over and processed and everything. So yeah, that's kind of how I think about it. Kyle, feel free to answer that question as well.
Yeah, I mean, it totally depends on the product. I have products that I make 4 to 5x ROI on my investment in the product. But like Will said, I mean, that depends on where you invest money. That doesn't account for paying your staff, paying for all of the expenses, and then all of the things you can write off is, you know, obviously you want to write off as much as you can. And so it's hard to give a specific number for that. And personally, I reinvest a lot of the profits. I pay myself a set salary each month. And I actually, of that salary, only about 20% it goes into my personal checking account, because I still don't spend that much money on living expenses. And the rest of it goes into various investments that I have. And so I try not to take a ton of money out of the business when I don't need to. So I just have myself on a payroll. And yeah, it totally depends. Like we were talking about with my wholesale products, the margins are, you know, I might sell a $200 product and make $40 on it. You know, it's a lot different than, you know, maybe if I sell a $200 private label product, I'm going to make a lot more than $40 on it.
Yeah, and on a product by product basis, it gets even more complex once you have a product line, because I mean, we have products that we almost lose money on, right? We just you like 10% margin after it's all said and done. But we also have products in our line that, like Kyle said, we have products in our line that we'll double the price on, triple the price on. So, you know, it definitely gets more complex. But I'd say for your first $100,000 made in this business, if you sold it, like if you spent over $60,000 to make that 100,000, you really screwed up. So I don't know if that was the answer you're looking for, but that's an answer, all right. All right, let's get on to the next one here. We have 2 minutes left until this man needs to leave and go to dinner. So we're going to keep him a few minutes late, but we'll go into lightning round here, answer these final questions, and then I do want to do a $100 cash prize giveaway before the end of the session here today. Nick here had a great question. I'm surprised that more people didn't ask you about this. What influencer marketing software have you used? How do you manage
Nothing.
your influencer marketing campaigns in general?
Just started out by I've tried some of the tools and stuff that are out there, but I still think to this day the best ways to go about it are just to do it manually. To find influencers that you like and you can reach out to them. I will say bigger influencers will tend not to answer your emails unless they're well crafted or they have a reason to, because some of these influencers get so many requests that they don't want to answer emails, especially from smaller companies. So I've definitely used, I forget the one company I was using, but there's a lot of companies out there that are basically marketplaces for influencers where you can go and you can basically buy influencers. That's going to be the more expensive route. The best influencers that I've found to date are ones that I didn't pay for, that I just sent them free products. And you can sometimes they'll even put their address in their profile, and you can even just send them a product and hope it works. Send them a really nice letter with it or something like that, and hope that they feature your product. Or you can just send them an email directly, and that works really well with some of the smaller influencers.
I think that's a great strategy. We just talked to someone on a webinar yesterday who was like, "Hey, there's a YouTube guy that wants to do an unboxing or a review of my product. Should I do it?" And I was like, "Well, I'll tell you how I would think about this. How much does your product cost?" And he said, "Well, it would cost me about $20 to send it to him." All right, and how many views does his average YouTube video have? It has like 10,000 views. I'm like, all right, so you're basically paying like less than almost a tenth of a penny per view. Like the work. So you're telling me, like, here's what I would do. I would just send the product because it's going to cost me $20, and I think it's worth $20 to just see if this works or not. I think I would pay $20 just to have fun with this and see what happened from it. So why are you even asking me on a webinar? Like, go send it's $20. Go send the product to guys, see what happens, and now you'll know. But certainly, like, if his videos are getting 10,000 views a piece, and all he wants is a $20 product to make a video about like, yeah, do that.
Yeah, great. Of course, no doubt, do that. And if you can, give them a link to your product with a coupon code, and so that people can click on it and just go straight to your product.
Yeah, exactly. Say, hey, just wanted to make sure you're signed up for the Amazon affiliate program.
A little side note with that, like a lot of these influencers aren't signed up for Amazon affiliates, and it's crazy because they can make a lot of money from that. But I don't know if this is a gray area or not, but I actually used my own Amazon affiliate account for a couple of the influencers that weren't signed up for it, because I asked them and they said they weren't, so I used my own influencer account.
You'll notice that when I put startupbros.com into my URL bar, the first thing that comes up is Startup Bros, and then startupbros.com/Amazon/eBay. So my entire family, like my extended family, my grandparents, everyone knows you don't go to Amazon.com. You go to startupbros.com/Amazon, and that just takes you through my affiliate link for Amazon. But yes, I have not bought anything on hopefully no one from Amazon's watching. I haven't bought anything from Amazon that wasn't through my affiliate link since like 2012, maybe. So definitely against terms and services, but I've gotten 8% cash back on everything I've bought for the past 6 years. So
yeah.
Watch, that'll stop working now because we just told hundreds of people about it. Scott here said, do you use product inserts to ask for reviews? Do you have any product inserts with your products?
Yeah, and I think it's a really good strategy. Some people definitely go way overboard with this. I've definitely gotten products that are like, sometimes in really bad English too, like, leave us 5-star review, like, just blatantly against terms of service, just really over the top. If you're going to do a product card, definitely put it, just be personable with it. Don't just like ask, make it well worded. Don't just like be a leech and make it really obvious that all you care about is the review.
Yeah, make it fun.
Yeah, exactly. But I think it's a great strategy, and I think that there's a lot of unique ways to go about doing that.
Yeah, Scott, I just a few weeks ago updated the training on product inserts. It's very, very good. So if you're having trouble with product inserts, check that out. I think it's in module 5. Uh, very good video and PDF, I think, that goes along with it. Dan here, who's going to China in 30 days. I'll see you in China, Dan. He said, can you please have the names, or can you give us the names of those companies helping with design modifications somewhere? So do you have any company that's helping you with design modifications, or is it purely just your suppliers that are doing it?
Yeah, no, it's me and my wife making like sketches and stuff, and
it's not like,
working with the manufacturers.
I think people are just overthinking how difficult it is. Like you're literally like drawing a picture of what you want and then giving them that picture and then working together back and forth to say like, all right, can we make this work? I'm sure they're emailing you back and saying, okay, what are the actual features? Like there's you guys have definitely, it's not we don't need design specs, but it's basically something like this that they're drawing up. And correct me if I'm wrong here. But it's basically something like this where, let me see if this actually opens. Yeah, it's something not even like this, because this is even too technical.
Mm-hmm.
How do I have a Pinterest?
Yeah, exactly. I use a super simple, like I use a free app from the Apple App Store called MonoSnap, and I overlay a photo or a drawing, and I put arrows with words saying like, do this here, make this do like a specific way, and just make it, because people, especially manufacturers that don't speak English, they like photos and like visual aids. So I think if you can do that, that's really good.
Right. So for something like this, it'd be like, 3X antique silver branded eyelets. And if you wanted to even go one step further, you could attach like a picture of one of the eyelets that you would like to see, along with the drawing. And here's the flint embroidered head, and you can even have a picture. So yeah, I mean, this is even more complex than I would assume Kyle's doing. I would assume Kyle's doing something closer to this even.
Yep, that's a lot closer to what mine looked like.
Yeah. So it's literally like a design drawing, like a prototype, almost like a prototype car drawing. So if you know someone that's good at art, like if you know anyone that knows how to draw well, they can do these things. I definitely can't draw well. But yeah, so it sounds like Kyle is using his artist wife to help him with these things. Now, if you didn't,
but you don't even need to draw it. Like I've definitely even used just photos of similar products of like an existing product that I want to improve, and just overlay that product photo and say, change this, make this out of this material, like that. Really simple stuff. Don't overthink it.
Yeah. Cool. And definitely don't pay much for it.
Yeah.
But like honestly, if you really have trouble with that, you can go on Upwork and find an industrial designer who will know how to do that. That's basically what industrial designers do, is go work with people to go from idea to mold. So you can find people to do that. Don't overthink it though. And Dan, we're going to be in China together anyways, so we'll spend more time talking about this, I'm sure. All right, guys, I got our final question here, and it's not even it's half question. Yeah, I guess it's a question, but one last question here. So if you have any additional questions, go ahead and throw them in the question box now. I know we're already past Kyle's cutoff, so I appreciate you staying a few minutes late, buddy. I do want to do a quick $100 cash prize giveaway on the way out as well. So here comes our last question, and if we don't have any others after this, we're going to go straight into the $100 cash prize giveaway. Seth here wants to know, and I think Seth literally jumped in E-commerce Empire like 10 minutes ago. So Seth, welcome to the program, buddy. Seth said, if you make a full custom product like Kyle, should you get a patent ASAP? And I think it's actually a good question. So Kyle, have you thought about utility and design patents at all?
I've thought about them. Yeah, I just they're pretty expensive. They take a while to get, and so I've never really found it to be worth it for anything that I'm doing right now. If you have like a really unique product idea that you don't want other people to rip off, because you have to remember too, if you're going to China, having a product made in China, like they're gonna start making that product for other people too, even if it's not your manufacturer.
Either way. Yeah, the only protection you have is the U.S. patent, in which that they can't sell the product in the U.S. You have protection over that. So yeah, if any product you take to China, though, it's getting ripped off for sure.
Yeah. I mean, you go to China and there's literally like fake Apple stores. You can go into an Apple store that sells Apple products that aren't Apple products.
And they love it. It's not even like, to the Chinese, it's not even a weird thing. It's not even counterfeits. It's just like, why would I pay that much for the Apple store? I have this Apple store right here.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, anything you take to China is going to get ripped off for sure. Like, go ask Gucci, Louis Vuitton, Chanel. Like, go down the list. There's plenty of companies who have this issue. I think this is something that comes with success. So I do think, like, Kyle, you're probably at the point where you should look into patents for certain products. How would you do that? You got to go through someone that's pretty cheap, because there's lots of like lawyers. There's lots of lawyers who think they're worth lots of money. So find someone that's like humble and good. The person that I would recommend for the people in this group is Paul Tomita. We've talked about him in the group a lot. I've shared his email in the group a lot. Paul Tomita. He is in San Francisco. It's like something Tomita Law, and does intellectual property law. He has filed all of my trademarks for extremely cheap pricing, like at least half as much as the next cheapest person I found. And he's really great because he'll just talk to you. Like, he just loves entrepreneurship. He loves selling on Amazon. So he is willing to do things cheap just to learn about your business and learn about what you're doing. So yeah, if you guys are looking at patents, hit up Paul Tomita, because he's so into Amazon and he's a good lawyer in San Francisco. He will not charge you anywhere near as much as a lawyer who doesn't want to do the work, because he actually wants to work on Amazon businesses. He loves these businesses. So yeah, get in touch with him. The great thing about Paul is like, if I tell him, hey, I'm thinking about doing this trademark or this patent, he will go through and do the initial research for free for me and basically tell me, hey, it doesn't look like you're going to get this, or it looks like we can get this. Now you can pay me and we'll get it done. So he like doesn't gouge you on hourly charges. He'll give you some free advice. And if he thinks that you can get a patent or a trademark with the claim you're making, then he'll say, all right, let's do this, and here's what it's going to cost. And it'll typically be pretty cheap too. So.
Yeah, and to go along with that, like I just want to echo that. Don't overspend on things like that. It's pretty cheap to get trademarks. I have a few trademarks. It's really it's kind of a long process, but it's not expensive. But it made me think of, so there's I'm sure you guys have probably heard of the company Spanx. It was founded by someone, Sarah Blakely, and I've listened to her talk a little bit. And she actually wrote the patent for Spanx, herself, because she was saving money in the early startup phase. And that's, a multi-billion-dollar company now. And, she wrote the patent for it. So don't think you need to go out and spend a bunch of money to make stuff happen.
Absolutely. Great advice. Very good advice. I just shared Paul Tomita's email address and everything too. So I'm going to send that out to a few people. Cool. And I know Kyle's got to go here pretty soon, so we'll make this the last question. Nick said, you said you didn't want to sell in the baby category. Any specific reason why? I think you even already asked this, so if you just want to re-answer this really quickly.
Yeah, definitely. Even though there were already a lot of existing similar products, and I was pretty confident in the quality of materials that were being used, the product that I was selling could have potentially been a choking hazard if it was broken or used improperly. And I just didn't know enough about that market and regulations and stuff. And I just didn't want to get myself in a situation where I have one, potentially harm a baby. Nobody wants to harm babies. And two, get myself into legal trouble so early on when I had other products that were selling well. And, it wasn't a huge deal to me to cut that product.
Cool. All right. Well, that brings us to the $100 cash prize giveaway. And we'll try to do this quick because I know you got to go, buddy. So I got two questions in mind. We'll split this up into two $50 prizes. Or actually, let's just make it one because I know Kyle's got to run here. So $100 cash prize here, guys. We're going to do it in one. Kyle, what do you think is your favorite one-digit number tonight?
I don't know. 7.
7's a good number. 7 and 3 are my favorites. So, all right, guys. So we'll do the 7th person to get this one correctly, and I got it's gonna be I got to make it a little tricky here. So okay, Kyle mentioned 2 hobbies here tonight that I remember. Now, hopefully he didn't mention many more. So he's got 2 hobbies that he does quite a bit. What are those 2 hobbies? And if you can tell me those 2 hobbies, and you're the 7th person to do so, we will give you $100 cash prize before the end of the presentation tonight. Scott's trying to guess your favorite number, and he guessed 9 and then 7. That is correct, but that is not what we're going for. All right, so give me 2 of Kyle's hobbies, and the 7th person to get that correct is going to win. Someone said Parks and Rec. That's his degree. All right, so I got 3. Oh, yeah, I completely forgot about half of these hobbies. All right, so Kyle did mention about 8 hobbies here tonight. This man's an outdoorsman. So, yeah, just mention 2 hobbies that he said, and whoever is the 7th person to mention those will get that correct. Let's see. 1, 2. I think we already have it. So 1, 2. Yeah, and confirm these for me, I guess. So rock climbing is a hobby. Yoga is a hobby. Slacklining.
Yeah.
Snowboarding.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say hiking is a hobby of yours?
I actually really don't enjoy hiking. I only do it when I have to do it in order to go climbing.
All right, cool. So those. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Someone said escalating. I don't know if we can give you escalating.
Like I think an escalator?
Just like going up, right? You just love ascending.
Like in the mall? Yeah.
I love ascending places in general.
I did used to like
I think it was going for climbing. But... Yeah. All right, so we're not going to give you that one. All right, cool. So I think we have our 7th person here. Let me actually count this, though, because this is actually a complex. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I got Janice Carlack as our winner here tonight. So Janice got snowboarding, rock climbing, and yes, this man is a true outdoorsman. I only remembered rock climbing and snowboarding, and then as you guys said this, I was like, oh yeah, there's like 50 different things here. So so Janice Carlack was the first person to mention 2 of those correctly. Janice, we're going to give you $100 cash prize. Thanks for being here and paying attention, and good stuff. All right, cool, guys. So we're gonna call it a wrap with that. Kyle, man, great session. I think like when you first got on here tonight and you said I have a slightly untraditional version of a success story here, I thought perfect, because like that's exactly, there's so many different flavors of success and so many different ways to do it and so many different ways to enjoy it too. And I think you've shed a lot of light on all of that here tonight. So thanks so much for being here, man, and enjoy the $2,000 in prizes that came with this. And hopefully you had a good time here as well.
Yeah, will do. And yeah, I just also thank you for, definitely played a part in that success. So I appreciate it, and keep on keeping on.
Yeah, we'll try. We'll create some more success stories here. And yeah, Kyle, hopefully we'll have to, well, I'm sure we'll meet at some event or something one day, but we'll have to catch back up in the future and see what you're doing with the business. Cause I love the way you're running it too. So I can't wait to see kind of what you do with this thing. Cause yeah, so many people, like you said, just burn themselves out on these things and have the same businesses with the same products. It seems like you're attacking this whole thing in your own way and blazing your own trail. So it's going to be really interesting to catch back up in the future and see where you take it.
Yeah, definitely. And that's like my number one advice to people is don't overwork yourself and don't burn out. It doesn't have to be hard. Just, put some time into it and hustle a little bit. But at the end of the day, nobody likes to sit in front of their computer all day.
That is true. You wouldn't guess it with all the glorification of it these days. But yeah. All right, cool. Well, guys, we will call that a wrap. Thank you all for being here. I think everyone here got a ton of value out of it. Tons of people saying thank you. More. So Britt said more webinars like this one. So I think people really enjoyed it, and I think a lot of people are going to get a lot of inspiration and tactical advice out of this too. So thanks again, Kyle, for being here. Thanks to Steve for helping run everything in the question box and keeping everything going, putting this all together. And thank you all for being here. So Steve's in the darkness over there. The good stuff, guys. All right, we will see you next week, next Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern, same time, same place. I don't know what we have scheduled for you next week, but I'm sure it's awesome. So I'll see you guys back here next week. Once again, thanks to Kyle, and thanks for the extra 20 minutes too, my friend. Hopefully we didn't screw up your dinner plans or anything.
No worries. I'm going to get sushi with some friends. Literally, I live 30 seconds from it, so we're good.
Oh,
all good.
Perfect. Now I don't feel too bad about it. So, all right, man. Congratulations once again on all the success. Thanks for being here and sharing it with us, and we'll catch back up in the future.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having me.
All right. Good night. Goodbye, everyone. Much love. We'll see you again soon.